In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an amazing poster design in Photoshop. Grab your mouse as we dive in. We are going to choose a solid color. With the solid color in place, we are going to create a new layer. Grab a soft round brush. Set opacity to 100. Foreground color is set to white. We are going to make the brush bigger by the right bracket key and click once. So we are going to set the blend mode to overlay. Ctrl J to make a copy. And we are going to set the blend mode of the second layer to normal. And we are going to reduce the opacity. Now let's grab our asset. So first and foremost, I'm going to copy this sky. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. Right click and convert to smart object. Ctrl T, we scale it up, we make it bigger. Then we are just going to create a mask. With a mask selected, we grab the gradient tool. Then we are just going to drag this way. Your foreground has to be black so you can erase precisely. So we are going to grab the second sky, the second clouds. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. Ctrl T, we make it bigger. So with the layer selected, we create a mask as well. Then we grab the gradient and we are just going to erase. Okay, let's copy this item. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. Right click and convert to smart object. Ctrl T, we make it bigger. We expand it a bit. That's okay. Then we're going to grab this item. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. With the layer selected, we are going to create a mask. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. We're just going to copy the bag and position it right here. We are going to grab the tentacles. We just drop the layer. So we have it this way. Ctrl J, we make a copy. We make this smaller. Then we are just going to warp it a bit. Ctrl T, you right click and you warp. So we make it smaller. We rotate it. Position it just right here. We are going to create a curves adjustment layer just above all the layers. Reduce the opacity. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I. Then we grab a soften brush and we are just going to paint some back. So reduce the opacity, set foreground to white, and we can paint now. Let's copy this item, Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. Let's lock this layer. Lock this as well. With the tentacles layer selected, we are going to create a solid color. Copy this as code. In the layer selected, you right click and create a clipping mask. Set the blend mode to soft light. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. We are going to create a curves adjustment layer. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. Clipped onto the layer with the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soften brush, we reduce the opacity, we set foreground to white, and we can paint. So we are just going to paint some shadows on the tentacles right here. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer. Clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We are going to create a solid color. With the layer selected, we right click and we are going to create a clipping mask. We clip it onto the layer. Set the blend mode to overlay. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft round brush and we are going to paint. With this layer selected, we are going to right click and rasterize the layer. Zoom in, grab the pen tool. Then we are just going to create a selection, but we have to reduce the opacity so that we can see what we are creating. So we create a selection this way. So we zoom in and create a selection just this way. We right click and create a selection, or just press Ctrl Enter to create a selection. Then we grab any of the marquee tool. We right click and select layer via cut. With the move tool selected, we are going to select layer 2 and set the blend mode. So we set the opacity to 100. Select layer 2. Then we are going to set the blend mode to soft light. And we are going to be painting some exposure adjustment layers onto that. So we are going to be painting some shadows onto that. So we create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft round brush. Foreground is set to white. We just paint. We create another exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft round brush and we are just going to paint. With the layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft round brush and we are going to paint some shadows. So we just have to reduce the opacity. Create another exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. Then we are just going to paint more shadows down here. Yeah, so we'll paint more shadows just down here, and that is okay. So basically we are going to do the same thing for almost everything that's around here. We create an exposure adjustment layer and blend everything all together. So I'll see you in a bit. With this layer selected, we are going to set the blend mode to soft light, Ctrl J to make a copy. Then we set the second one to normal, reduce the opacity, and we are just going to create exposure adjustment layers. Create some shadows, paint some shadows basically. So we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft hand brush. Foreground is set to white and we are just going to zoom out and paint some shadows. We need more shadows down here. So we are just going to paint some more shadows here. Before and after. We swap the foreground to black and we are just going to erase some parts. So we are going to create a curves adjustment layer. We are going to create a solid color. Set the blend mode to soft light. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft hand brush. Then we are going to set foreground to white. So we are going to paint more shadows down here. Once we have everything in place, we are just going to press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. Then we are just going for camera raw, so filter, camera raw, filter. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay creative.